kind of went strange.
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Matthew, let me just check your, if I can hear you properly now. I know we had some issue earlier.
Pamela, and good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, wherever you are in the world today.
All right, I'm going to kick it off. Matthew, thank you for joining. All right.
It's good to be here. Thank you for this time together, and thank you, everybody, for being here.
Okay, so welcome to Advancing Trust in AI's second event. This is titled Without Bias, There is No Trustworthy AI. And obviously that is a very important point on how we are building AI, trustworthy AI. Where does ethics and where do other elements come in? So we are going to talk about, as important it is to talk about the right things, we also want to talk about the wrong things and what to build in and what not to build. So can we do this right? And this is an event to talk about how to make the right decisions proactively, because these are systems that are extremely complex when it comes to AI. My name is Pamela Gupta, and on behalf of the WISE's Trusted AI Affiliate Group, I would like to thank our panelists and attendees. As a founder of the group, my vision is to help identify existing gaps and risks in these highly impactful AI systems and create or find existing resources for building trusted AI. Our mantra for our group is from dialogue to action. So not only do we want to highlight what are the risks and the gaps, but also what are the practical and strategic ways of closing those gaps. Our group is a group of leaders and practitioners from various industries, and I would invite you to visit our overview video on YouTube to get a better idea of some of our constituents. So why are we talking about the problem of building trust in AI? This is not a futuristic concern. This is something that is impacting us as we speak. We are already building these systems, we are rolling out these systems, and the issue of doing it right has haunted us as even for legacy systems, which were not even close to impact that AI systems can have. And yet, we want to make sure that we have some lessons learned from the past, but also the thought leadership to anticipate what is coming down the pike and how to circumvent these issues. So what is the problem of AI right now? What is the problems surrounding building of AI right now? Currently, AI is pervasive. It has high potential for pitfalls, primarily due to the fact that it is taking bigger decision-making role in more industries. Responsible use of AI or lack thereof can get out of hand and impossible to fix. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples. One that just surfaced from MIT Technology Review was, I'm going to talk about that, but Jochen Candela, who heads Facebook's responsible AI team, he created an AI-based platform for managing content to help with business objectives of adding viewers and pushing content to them based on the likes and dislikes. So that's the Facebook business model, right? But it evolved into a system for polarization and lies and hate. And it became so unwieldy that it was impossible to fix it, which is pretty much a nature of these systems. So to give some more insight into that, because this is not about finding blame, this is about finding resolution. So let's take a quick look at what happened here. In Facebook, teams train up on AI machine learning models. He had built a platform called FB Learner Flow, which allows engineers with little AI experience to train and deploy machine learning models within days. And they're using it to decide whether to change the ranking order of posts or to catch content, better content, and that violates Facebook's community standards, its rules. And if a model reduces engagement too much, it's discarded. Otherwise, it's deployed and continually monitored. So engineers get notifications every few days, for example, whether these metrics, how they are working on likes and dislikes. Again, fundamental to their business model. Then they decipher it using this to see what are the causes of the problems and whether any models need retraining. But this approach led to some issues. And the fact was that the models that maximize engagement also seem to be favoring controversy, misinformation, and extremism. Why is that? Not because of the way the model was built, but because they were monitoring the human interaction. And it seems people like extremist content. So that's what was feeding into this whole polarization and leading to some inflammation, for example, around, for example, political tensions. Now, where it hits the real world, the most devastating example of this, for example, to date, is in the case of Myanmar, where while fake news and hate speech content about Rohingya Muslim minority escalated the country's religious conflict into a full-blown genocide. So this is an example of how do we do things right in the beginning? What is the intent? And how do we stay aligned to that intent? The intent was not bad here, right? This was to build a business model. Another really quick example is how we are using, there are more than 30 tools right now that are using AI-based heuristics for hiring. And it is growing rapidly to manage the flood of applications. Especially now, there are roughly twice as many jobless workers in the US as before the pandemic. As with other AI apps, though, researchers found that some hiring tools produce biased results, inadvertently favoring men or people from certain socioeconomic backgrounds. Many are now advocating for greater transparency and more regulation. One solution, of course, was audits, AI audits. And that is not a solution, I can tell you, because I have been a cybersecurity thought leader and creating strategic-based programs for over 25 years. And audits, at best, give you an incomplete picture, and at worst, they can help companies hide problematic or controversial practices behind an auditor's stamp of approval. And it's a snapshot at best. So it's clearly not a solution for these highly impactful, complex systems. Very quickly, I came to the US with a degree in psychology and to pursue a master's in AI because they were not offering that in India at that time. And then I went into a field of cybersecurity. And what I realized a few years ago was that we are building these systems. We are talking about AI systems, how to use them for security, but we're not giving enough importance of how to build these systems securely with transparency or accountability. So much so that I created a model which takes a holistic approach, but that is not the purpose of this talk. I will talk more about that in a different talk, but at a minimum, I'd like to stress 2 points: that we cannot realize the full potential of AI without building trust in AI. Also, we will not achieve the intended outcomes without building trust in AI. So our mission for advancing trust in AI is to bring awareness on the multifaceted elements required for creating trust in AI. One of them is ethics. And I am honored to talk to Matthew Bailey, who is, I won't go into all his accomplishments, but just mention a few, and then I'll hand it over to Matthew to take it from there. Matthew has been classified by the US government as a person of extraordinary ability for his global and influential work in emerging technologies such as IoT, etc., and innovation such as AI. And this prestigious recognition is reserved and is allocated to those who have attained an exceptional level of achievement in their field of expertise. He's been a World Technology Network Award nominee. Previous winners have been visionaries such as Sir Tim Berners-Lee, inventor of the World Wide Web, former President, US Vice President Al Gore, for example, are some of the people who have received that. Lately, he has written a book called Inventing World 3.0. It's on evolutionary ethics for World 3.0, aligns with our mantra of our group, which is from dialogue to action, strategy that leads to action. And it is, I would say, empowering leadership to create a new tomorrow. He has advised US government on AI. And to me, Matthew is a friend. We are working together at AI Ethics World. And most importantly, he is a global change catalyst. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to you, Matthew. And if you can just give a few words, and we can then talk about your presentation, go into your presentation.
That's great. Thanks ever so much, Pamela, for the introduction. And thank you for sharing those troublesome use cases where AI has got out of control. Would you like me to go through the presentation now and have a quick chat?
Yes, please.
Briefly, just briefly, Pam, where we're at the moment, I believe that humanity is at a choice point. The digital world, based on data, has got to a certain level of maturity, and we're developing this artificial intelligence. Yet we're facing some extreme challenges in society, aren't we, with the SDGs, with our environment being out of balance, and just general problems with human living. And so the question is, can we bring these three together? The digital world, artificial intelligence, and humanity with meaning and purpose to resolve challenges, but all of us to leap forward together in inclusivity and diversity, rather than just the haves and the have-nots. And so that's really what evolutionary ethics is about. So I'll talk briefly about it. This is based on a presentation I gave in the week, but I'll try not to take too long. And once again, thanks everybody for being here. It's great. I'll need to have access to screen sharing, please, Pam.
Let me, if I'm not able to do it, Matthew, I will just launch the presentation.
Okay. That's right. That looks good to me. Let me
okay.
Okay, so if you want to go to the next screen, please. Okay, so as Pam mentioned, we're both involved in aiethics.world. You can check us out at www.aiethics.world. You can follow us on Instagram and on Facebook, the AI Guru, and also our YouTube channel, which we're slowly launching. There's lots of content on there. Pam's on there as well. So do check us out. And we have an academy for training organizations, leaders, and also nations and innovators and developers on this new approach to AI ethics called evolutionary ethics. And there's lots of content on there, lots of podcasts, lots of videos, lots of conversations that you'll find incredibly unique, I believe, in order for you to be leaders in this new tomorrow. So do check it out. If we can go to the next slide, please. Here we go. Thank you. On aiethics.world, you can buy the book. It's on Amazon, it's on Google Play, it's on Barnes & Noble. You can get a special edition. I just wanted to share a couple of images with you briefly here. The guy at the top in the nature, John Milton, is equivalent to Sir David Attenborough. His great-grandfather helped Roosevelt build the national parks, and John himself has built national parks and helped create national parks around the world. And he teaches empowered leadership through nature, and MIT and some of the biggest tech companies in the world use his leadership and empowered leadership practices. There's also a lady called Patricia who's wonderful at SDGs, and she's using that around SDG, around peace and justice, which is important in society. and also Dan as well, who's here in Colorado, who's a director of a multi-billion-dollar research and innovation labs who are doing some great work here. And I just want to put Charles Darwin up there. You're all probably aware of Charles Darwin, who actually was the first one in Western civilization to bring evolution and ethics together around understanding the human species and how we've kind of evolved to where we got to. Evolutionary ethics for artificial intelligence is a step beyond that. It is actually the digital world and data and also humanity coming together in partnership and inclusivity to work together for a beneficial future. And the book's being featured on ZDNet. There's a video coming out soon and other places as well. So let's move to the next slide, please, Pam. Thank you. We can go past this, but basically, this goes to Pam's point. Is AI going to be good for humanity, or is it going to destroy us? And so we're at a choice point now where we can steward what Pam's talking about, AI ethically, into its future. Now, this slide is really important here because it comes to one of the principles of evolutionary ethics, which is data. Data is the oxygen that gives artificial intelligence an understanding of its context and purpose. Without data, there is no AI. Data trains AI. So the question is, what's the ethical quality of the data that's being trained and used to train AI? If the oxygen is unethical, then by nature, the artificial intelligence itself has to be unethical. And so we need to look at data ethics and AI data ethics in order for that to be ethical, for the oxygen to be ethical that goes into artificial intelligence itself. And so when you're working in government or business, have a think about and look at the ethical quality of the data that's being used to train your artificial intelligence. This is going to be important. Now, we've kind of jumped past one slide, but that's okay. So let's go back up slightly. Sorry, everybody. We're doing our best with technology. Just go back up one, please. There we are, and then drop down to the next one. And don't forget, there's 2.5 quintillion bytes of data being created every day. That's a lot of data that we can use to train artificial intelligence. So the data world is providing the information we need to start to train AI in a broader and deeper data sets. But we have to get that data foundation ethical first. Otherwise, we're into a false paradigm around ethical AI. Okay, Pam, next one. Okay, we'll hop to this one. Thank you. So we kind of were a bit cheeky on LinkedIn by saying without bias, there is no trustworthy AI. And we wanted to kind of share this with you because I think we need to look at where we're at in our mindset around artificial intelligence and innovating our future. If we look at evolutionary bias, this is about unlimited potential. It's a positive, created, liberated energy. It's about positive inclusion. It's about trustworthiness. It's adaptable because it caters for different aspects of change in human culture, different aspects of our change within society, different aspects that change within ourselves, because we all have a personal culture that changes on a regular basis. We are naturally adaptable. It is proactive, and it's multi-future-proofed. We don't have just one reality in front of us. We have many realities. And so having an adaptable mindset that can keep on fine-tuning our laser focus towards a beneficial, flourishing future in society and our partnership with the environment, then that's really important. And so the multidimensional aspect of an evolutionary mindset is very much part of this, and evolutionary ethics is multidimensional. It is about empowering people. It is about disrupting the norms at the moment, and it's about being excited about innovating the future. It's empowering cultures to participate in innovating their future. It's not about a forced type of change, which is what the modern bias is on the right-hand side. You know, a lot of the AI ethics we see at the moment, although some great initiatives, is about forced negative energies. You shall. It's kind of a religious dogma. It's forced trust. I believe that we need to, as we empower people, enable people, come to the table, and they're thrilled and they're excited. They're supported to innovate their future with an exciting energy, not basically thou shalt and forced trust. And the modern bias is very much a rigid approach. It's forced compliance. Rather than saying, hey guys, how do we put trust in AI for the Navajo, nation? How do we put trust in AI for the different cultures within America? How do we put trust in AI for the disabled in society and people with disabilities? How do we put trust in so AI does really well for all the different aspects of our diverse society? But if we don't have a bias, then we're looking at chaotic potential futures. It's a neutral energy. It's exclusive. It doesn't matter who's in or who's out. It's an unknown trust. It can be lopsided, as we've seen in the coded bias, haven't we, where you have a white mask to be recognized by the facial recognition software, right? The facial recognition software was lopsided. So we don't want no bias and we don't want to force bias. What we want is a creative, positive bias where we have purpose, we have a destiny, we're including people to innovate the future together. And that is really important. And one of the world conditions we'll see, which is we see this as we go from World 1.0 to World 3.0, is more democratization of innovation, Pam. We start to see communities and cities innovating their futures. We start to see cultures take leadership around innovating their future, where they're honoring their traditions of the past, their cultures they honor today, to take the cultures into the future so they don't become controlled by Western civilization mindset. So that's just a little bit about bias. We need a positive bias, an evolutionary bias.
Right.
We have a destiny. Let's do this. Okay, I think I've said enough on that. So basically, World 1.0 is where we're at the moment. It's developed by the industrial mindset, which has got us so far, and we need to reflect how far that has got us, but will that take us into the future? And I think it's not the right mindset. I think we need to have this evolutionary mindset where the digital world, artificial intelligence, and humanity can work together in partnership to leap beyond the challenges that are local, to leap beyond the inequities in society, to leap into the future. So we're creating a legacy for the generations to come that are not beholden to the challenges we face today. So an evolutionary mindset is a purposeful mindset. It's an activated mindset. It's all about us working together to create a wonderful destiny. And at the bottom, there's a number of world conditions I look at, and as these change, we move into World 3.0, which is about self-actualized humanity. It's about a flourishing environment. It's about cultures and diversities being honored and thriving. It really is about empowerment and restoring a balance to our planet as a platform to launch us into the future. Not utopia, but it's a platform that we can develop if we have our mindset right and get this digital world and AI aligned in a trustworthy fashion to work with us to help to leap beyond these challenges. Okay, Pam. So this is where we can just check in now. We've kind of covered this already, so I'll keep it briefly. Where are we now? So David Attenborough, who you all know very well, being on the BBC, he says that basically we're at a tipping point. We know if the environment flourishes, we flourish. We've seen that in the pandemic, which has been awful, but people are starting to see clear skies. We're starting to have clean air again. So we need to basically restore balance to a flourishing environment with human living. The SDGs are a reflection of where we've got to today through human living. And so we're seeing some reflection back to us here, quite in strong transparency, that says, you know, we can do better. What's our mindset going forward? How do we resolve these challenges? How do we move forward as a human species? And so the question is, Pam, what role does artificial intelligence play in that? Okay. We'll go through this very quickly, but really we know that AI is starting to create value in society. Pam's already talked about this. The great thing around the Go AI that you're all probably aware of is its decision making is tremendous, and so that we can take that and cross-pollinate in other markets for better decision making, that AI can help us, maybe with logistics chains, maybe with manufacturing, maybe with healthcare. And we know that AI is already starting to be in our cars. We're going to see more self-driving cars, automated vehicles, and so AI is going to be playing a big role there, as we're all aware, as it gets closer to our humanity and our experience in humanity, and that's why it needs to be trusted. Voice interaction is a big step forward. You're all aware of natural language processing, and you probably all have an Alexa or a Siri on your phone or whatever you're using. And this is important because it puts us at rest. We can interact with the digital world without having to look at our screens. And that puts us at emotional rest. And so AI is starting to put us at emotional rest. And as we move into the future, AI itself will become personalized, that will put us even more at rest to live a self-actualized lifestyle and to work in our gifts, etc. This is a cricket photograph. AI is being used in cricket. I'm a big cricket fan. And obviously we've seen in the social dilemma and coded bias some of the issues around AI, where it's not doing well in society. In fact, as a citizen, it wouldn't be accepted in society because it has bias and it doesn't honor cultural diversity. So the question is AI 42 the answer to life, the universe, and everything? Well, let's dive in this together, see whether there is to 42. Okay, Pam. So this is where we really get to the heart of trust. Now, data is the DNA of artificial intelligence. Data enables us to build the mindset of artificial intelligence, right? It gives it intelligence. So to my point earlier, if the data training AI is unethical, then its digital mindset is unethical. And we need to start with the data world and ethics in data and governance and user agency in data and ownership. And we'll come back to that in a little bit. So Pew Research Center, basically are echoing there's a real trust paradigm and issue in society at the moment where people are not trusting business or don't feel they can trust business and government with their data. And I did a poll this week on LinkedIn where 95% of the people that responded said we want more visibility with our data in government and business. So there's an issue, there's a issue here, and we need to resolve this. And so user agency, data ethics will bridge the trust paradigm as we get onto this a little bit later. So when a society or a nation has poor AI data ethic governance, the mindset of AI being deployed in society is actually schizophrenic. No one knows what data's there. We don't know if it's ethical or not. We have all sorts of different flavors of schizophrenia of AI in society because there is no audit trail or data ethics itself embodied within artificial intelligence. And so there's no border control. There's no control to ensure that the mindset of artificial intelligence is ethical. It's all schizophrenic. And we still have this lack of public trust. So when there's poor data ethics, then there's an unethical alignment or there's a trust issue between humans and machines. And that is a real issue for any nation going forward. This is a world 1.0 paradigm we're seeing today. But when we have strong AI data ethic governance, then we know the ethical quality of the data that's being trained in AI, and therefore by nature, we know the ethical quality of AI to a certain extent, which is good. It's a step forward. And so we can know the ethical quality of AI within a nation because we know the ethical quality of the data that's being used to train AI. And so we can put border control in place, which I'll talk about next, which is a nation and a society can ensure that there's a certain ethical quality to the AI being deployed within their nation, which allows them all to move forward from a common understanding and platform. And also, as we start to give the public control and user agency of data, the public trust paradigm is bridged. And so therefore, we can have more domestic data sets that are broader and deeper to get AI perfect in its application in society and also train it for other aspects and society. But moreover, it brings society into the evolution and development and advancement of artificial intelligence because they're given permission for their data to be used. And so this is an ethical alignment between humans and machines. Okay, Pam, next slide. Just briefly, this is coming, your personalized AI. Your data is the DNA of your personalized AI. It's an extension of your human experience and such your sovereignty. At the moment, your digital self is fractured behind all these different systems you have no visibility over. As we bring your digital self back into one place under your user agency, maybe in a personal vault or something like that, then we can start to train personalized AI for you based on this data that you create throughout every aspect of your life all the time to become a digital buddy or a digital angel in an article I wrote. recently, or a digital life guru, an AI that guides you based on your choice and your sovereignty into an advanced lifestyle and a human experience. It makes sure you get the right job that aligns with your cultures, that aligns with your belief system, that aligns with your gifts, and also aligns with your economic needs and how your social family works as well. So this life guide and life guru is possible to create this as we start to give people their digital self back. And take a look at Deepak Chopra and will.i.am, wonderful people that are creating digital avatars of themselves. These are kind of digital twins. They have no understanding of their life experience, but they do project some of their personality. And one of the questions that will.i.am said in the age of AI recently, Pam, was, this is going to live longer than me. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Okay, next slide. And so this is where we get to the nitty-gritty. So how do we test the ethical quality of artificial intelligence? And this is stage one. There's a second stage that's in the book, but we may not have time to go on to that. This is Alan Turing, you've heard of. Alan Turing was, he invented the Turing machine. He probably saved about 2 million people's lives and brought World War II to an end 2 years before it probably would have. And he designed the Turing-like test to test the subjective questions for an objective outcome. Does an AI think like a human? Is it answering questions like a human? Well, we can do the same with data. We can ask poignant questions, subjective questions, the ethical quality of artificial intelligence and the data being used in order to get an objective outcome. And this is a world first, brand new approach to certifying and ranking the ethical quality of data and artificial intelligence. So it's brand new. This is brand new approach for us to ask questions to understand the ethical quality of artificial intelligence. So there's bronze, silver, gold, and platinum rankings. Bronze is very much world 1.0, which is an industrial mindset, where we're at today. Platinum is very much the evolutionary mindset, where we're heading into a flourishing destiny. And so we ask these 8 questions and then we rank them. And then we come up with different colors in an AI data ethic model. Now, there's a couple of things I want to bring out here. One is user agency of data is really important here. And because it's an extension of the sovereign self, therefore, I think we need to look at user agency and look at transparency, visibility, ownership, privacy, protection, stewardship, and all sorts of different aspects of our data and how it's being used. But the evolutionary bias is really important here. This is positive bias, as I said before. This is ensuring that we have cultural diversity. This is not forcing it, but it's inviting. It's bringing them into the conversation. It's empowering them to come play. It's empowering them to innovate their future. Evolutionary bias is, yes, we want to do well in society. Yes, we want to have a flourishing relationship with our environment. Evolutionary bias is positive for the destiny of the human experience and inclusive. The environmental footprint is really important here, Pam. Data, 2.5 quintillion bytes that we generate each day, and AI itself should have a low carbon energy footprint, if not zero, and also a low environmental footprint. We know that data world's going to grow exponentially. We know AI is going to be deployed in micro edge, mobile edge, static edge, data center, supercomputing, exascale. It's all coming, quantum. So these places, the home of AI, needs also to have a low environmental footprint. And this checks in how well a nation's doing. Is the environmental footprint for data and artificial intelligence in line with their desires for a green nation? It's transparency back to the public. It's business being accountable there in line with a green nation paradigm. So what we do, Pamela, is nations or businesses can have their own Turing-like test to ensure they have ethical AI and test and measure the ethical quality of AI within their businesses or nations. I've applied this to 3 different areas. One is social media and checking in how well is AI and doing in this model as we test it in today's paradigm. And as you can see, it's rich in bronze. It's not doing very well at all. It really fails a lot of these tests and doesn't rank very highly. But as we move into smart cities, Pam, which is about societies, it's about cultural diversity. It's about bringing technology to do well with the environment and to solve challenges. We're starting to see some platinum and gold emerge. And this is really important because smart cities are important as society moves forward. And when we move to the UK healthcare system, this is pre-COVID, by the way, then we start to see more platinum because they ask questions like, Pam, to the individuals, can we use your data for this artificial intelligence to detect cancer or breast cancer earlier? These are good conversations to have. And it's all about AI doing well in society and benefiting citizens. It's transparency and visibility. So the UK healthcare system is on its way to a world kind of 2.0 paradigm, right? It's starting to lead the way. So nations will have a new British kite mark, a new standard, new border control, new clearinghouse, new digital citizen test, Pam, to go through the Turing light test to ensure that the AI is trustworthy, to understand its ranking and classification and these AI data ethic models, so people can know, Pam, clearly how ethical AI is within society and within business and within government. And this is important because it allows us to move beyond into the platinum ranking we can have with pure ethical AI and pure data ethics that allows us to keep on leaping beyond. So businesses can also do this, Pam. They can also have their own Turing light tests when they before they actually provide to suppliers or to customers or others like that. And what we might see, Pam, as I close very quickly, is this. I think what we'll see is suppliers hand over maybe a gold AI data ethic medal to suppliers of AI and say, that is the standard. It's a challenge coin, Pam. That is the standard. I want your AI to be gold. And they hand over a challenge coin, which is what the book talks about, in order to say, this is my intent. This is the standard I want you to get to. Okay, that's enough on that, I think. And we probably could stop there, but we can briefly look at listen to people's questions and stuff. There's a lot more in this, but people can look on the YouTube channel and the Pakistan keynote, Pam, to see a comprehensive discussion of this. And there's lots of videos on AI ethics that discuss this new concept called evolutionary AI, where ethics are in the DNA of AI, which I've tested with life science OBEs. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. That's a lot to chew. What I like about it is the fact that it's a framework level enough to provide guidance. And as with any other high level framework, right, it gives a starting point and an end point, right? These are the guidelines, and this is how you can actually go from point A to point B, which is including ethics into the building of AI systems, right? For whether it's a company, whether it's at a personal level or at a global level. So I have some questions for you. I know we don't have too much time, but I do want to ask you a question about the Turing test, right? You proposed the new Turing test, and we understand what that means. Actually, you know what? Let me ask you a different question. How do you see evolutionary ethics transforming the future of AI and its partnership with humankind? And does trustworthy AI fit into this? Because we only have time for one question, so I might as well focus on the trustworthy aspect of it, right? How do we use this model to drive that trustworthiness?
So trustworthiness, Pam, is a subjective statement, isn't it? And we can't be rigid, Pam. We have to be adaptable, and evolutionary ethics are adaptable. So trustworthiness can differ on a personal level based on their mood, based on their personal culture. So it needs to adapt to that. And evolutionary ethics caters for that with evolutionary AI. That's why personalized AI is so important. And what we're seeing at the moment, Pam, is a brittle approach to trustworthy AI, where people are trying to create a carte blanche definition of trustworthy. And I don't think that's going to work. I think we can have a foundation, Pam, but we need agility. Trust is an important word for us going forward. AI is getting a bad rap at times, Pam. And so as we start to show the general public that AI can be trusted, then trustworthy itself will become accepted within society, but the general public have to be in that. So my point is this: trustworthy AI is important. It's an important, if you like, baseline within World 1.0 for us to move into World 2.0 and then move into the next advancement of AI, which is evolutionary AI that has ethics within its DNA. So evolutionary ethics itself, Charles Darwin explained, helped us to understand the evolution of the human species. Evolutionary ethics for artificial intelligence is that kind of thinking on how the digital world, data and AI and the human species can all come together in partnership and purpose. But the frameworks are really practical. The book goes through practical frameworks for nations, organizations on how to invent their evolutionary ethics framework with purpose and meaning within society. So it's incredibly practical. So this is not just a philosophical conversation. This is a conversation for us to have, Pam. What is the purpose of the human species and where are we going? How can AI assist us in that destiny? Okay. And also, what is the legacy we want to leave for future generations? And so I believe, Pam, we don't need brittle industrial mindset frameworks that are being proposed at the moment. We need adaptable, agile frameworks where cultures, businesses, nations are empowered. There are some good initiatives out there, Pam. John Haven at the IEEE is doing great. He's proposed something. You're probably aware of that. Anna and the SDG folks are working on something there, and also Patricia, who we know very, very well. The AI for Humanity folks have got, different spreadsheets. The thing is, the Turing-like test is actually fits all around these, because basically it is a test to measure and certify the ethical quality of AI and also allow for its advancement and maturity as we go forward. But these are all good initiatives. So evolutionary ethics is, for AI, is actually, it's actually a global leadership conversation with practical applications. And trustworthy AI, Pam, will play an important role going forward.
Yes, I agree that it is a dynamic area. It is a complex area. And this is what I've seen in security my whole life, right? The complexity is the enemy of security. We need simplicity. We need to take these complex areas and make them understandable and provide action that can be used to get to a solution, right? It is complex, but we do need solutions. And but to your point, also, I agree with that. That cannot be fixed in time. They have to be dynamic. We have to go with the flow and adapt to a fluid environment, especially given the nature of these systems, given the complexity of these systems. We want to take that from dialogue to action, and we will have further conversations on this. I know we are at end of time, so we will conclude here, but I invite you to join our group, Advancing Trust in AI, because without having trust in the outcomes and knowing that these systems are being created with strategic purpose, with strategic factors such as transparency, such as ethics, such as trust, we are more likely to have a outcome that we are not prepared for. So I'd like to conclude the event here. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a nice weekend.